The following podcast contains spoilers for Sisters. You have been warned.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. I'm not necessarily a twin. I'm just Glen Button. Along with your host, apparently, Dos Miguel Magustos.
No, there's just one of me. That was some tomfoolery on my part.
Although you are a Siamese twin in real life, if I recall, right?
Well, I mean, first of all,
you and your sister?
Siamese twin is a very offensive term to both. I don't know where Siamese people come from. I don't know what the correct term for them is. Oh, well, whatever. And then, it's
I think
conjoined
they explained
twins.
it in this movie,
and
actually.
My sister. Well, yeah, I mean that's where the name Siamese twin comes from, because the first case of it were people from a country in which they were called Siamese. I don't know what they're called today. It might still be Siamese, and I might just be being overly careful. Who knows? But I'd rather not offend people. And it might just be the cats and the cats and aristocrats. That's
that didn't help the case
offensive.
at all.
No, not at all. So maybe Siamese is the correct term for those people. I don't know. If it is, I apologize. I'm just trying not to die here. Yeah. But yes, I have a twin.
Oh,
we are. My twin is a female, so it is impossible for us to have been conjoined. Someone should have told James Wan that before he made *Malignant*, because that was the part that bothered me most about *Malignant*, is that it was a male and female twin, and that they were conjoined. Impossible. But
I've never actually thought about that.
Yeah.
The
way
two different ones.
I'll get into the scientifics later.
Yeah.
Because being a twin, it really bothers me. I'll talk about that later. But Glenn, what movies have you watched this week?
Oh, dear God. I thought a lot about *Malignant* this week, I'll tell you that. I'm like, wow, what bad movie was this like? No, it was *Malignant* that I was thinking of, which I think we mentioned last week. I didn't watch it, full case scenario. I didn't actually watch it. But on Thursday, we watched It Lives Inside, which we've got a review out on the YouTubes for that. So good luck finding that, because it's everywhere. You won't not be able to find it. And then after that, I kind of just been letting my TV pick whatever the hell it wants to before I go to bed, and then I'll just watch it. So this week it was Adventureland. I guess Saturday night it was Adventureland. I just couldn't sleep. Yeah, I was up at 1, and then I was just like, I'm just going to crank out this movie. I was halfway through, but I still remember the whole thing. It held up more than I thought it would. Especially
what movie is this? I'm sorry, I was.
How dare you space out? Adventureland. Jesse Eisenberg, Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds is in there. Bill Hader is great in it. He's just too good. He was my favorite part of him and his wife in the movie, Kristen Wiig. It's so funny. It holds up a little bit, and that's cool with me. After that, I watched Sisters, so I'm just gonna hand the bitch off to you. You tell me what you saw, because I know you had a busy week.
I saw a bunch of stuff. So I'll kind of get into what made it a bunch of stuff. I mean, granted, even without, I went to a film festival this weekend, and even without that, it was pretty stacked. So the first movie I watched was an Ingmar Bergman movie called Waiting Women. It was essentially these three sister-in-laws talking about their love lives and their husbands and stuff. Romance, you know me.
We know you.
It was fine. It is what it is. Then I followed that up with another Ingmar Bergman movie called Brink of Life. Legitimately the most depressing Ingmar Bergman movie I have seen, and I've seen a lot of them. So that's saying something. Yes, it's more depressing than Persona. Yes, it's more depressing than The Seventh Seal. Wow. Because literally there's one person in this entire movie that has joy in their life. And at the end, it's all taken away. And it hurt. It hurt real bad.
Jeez.
But loved it. Like, legitimately, if you're in for, like, a sad movie, it's a fantastic film. Then last week when we were talking about Sisters, I mentioned that it kind of reminded me of Rear Window. So I rewatched Rear Window just to see if I could make the comparisons. Spoiler, there are really very few similarities between them. They're very different movies. But I forgot how good Rear Window is. Love it. Fantastic. Yeah. Then I watched It Lives Inside. We'll get into... Oh, we won't get into that. We have a YouTube video of that. And then I arrived at the film festival on Friday. And I arrived at a time that they had like a 3-hour break. And I didn't know there was a 3-hour break.
Jesus.
So I was just like, okay, I'll go see a movie at another theater. So I went to the King of Prussia Theater and saw the movie Dumb Money, the Paul Dano movie that is about the meme stock when a bunch of people were buying GameStop stock to raise the price to kind of say like fuck you to Wall Street and all that. So it's about that. It's fine. It's better than I expected. I actually really enjoyed it. Somehow I know less about the stock market now after watching that than I did before. Because it just confused the ever-living fuck out of me.
It is very confusing.
Yeah, and this movie made it more confusing, probably because I was overly confident in how much I knew. And I also admitted that I didn't know that much beforehand, so, like, this just showed me how complex it is and that I will probably never understand it, and that's okay. And the only thing I can hope for is to be rich enough to pay someone to buy stocks for me. But that will never happen. So.
It's a lot of numbers and a lot of letters, and I'm just sitting there going, I can barely even read.
Yeah. Then I watched a film called Young Adult. It's I'm going to get to the film festival stuff after I go through like the normal movies. So this is out of order at this point. I watched Young Adult, which is a Jason Reitman film written by Diablo Cody, starring Charlize Theron, Patton Oswalt, and Patrick Wilson, our boy. And it's about this woman who's kind of full of herself coming back to her hometown and trying to get back with her ex-boyfriend who is married and has a child, and it's just kind of her being a hot mess the whole time. Really enjoyed it. Patton Oswalt's great. He needs to be in more.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, so that's Young Adult. Then I watched another Ingmar Bergman movie, Autumn Sonata, and which is about a daughter and her mom reconciling, more or less. They kind of fight for a very long time. It was fine. I feel like I'm past the Ingmar Bergman movies that I'm going to love, like the thrillers and the horrors. That he didn't do that many. Most of his are like romance and dramas and all that. But like the Hour of the Wolf is great. I think I'm past that at this point. We'll see. I have two more, but they're the same movie, just edited differently, called Fanny and Alexander. So we'll see how I feel about that one. But I think at this point, I'm just trying to get through them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fine. Then I had another break in the film festival and was like, I want to go see something, but I've seen everything. So I saw Gran Turismo.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
It was enjoyable, but like not to the point where I'd recommend it. Like I enjoyed watching it, but it didn't wow me.
Yeah.
There's legitimately maybe 10 seconds without music in the entire thing. There's just music throughout the entire thing. And David Harbour's great in it, but other than that, I wouldn't really.
How was Orlando Bloom though?
He was fine. He kind of had like an asshole-ish character, but like an asshole that you like. Like he was on the side of the good guys, but he was also like the businessman that was trying to push things. And so yeah, it was good. But David Harbour was like really good. Okay. Way better than this movie deserved.
He is a big nerd himself. He loves him some video games.
Yeah, I do think fans of the video game will like it because they do a really good job at like cutting in like the cinematography of the game and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, better than I expected it to be, but nothing really to write home about.
Yeah.
Then for the festival, I saw a lot at the festival. I saw a lot of really great independent films. I'm going to try to go through the ones that I liked a lot. If you're from the festival and listening to this and I don't mention your movie, it's not that I didn't like your movie. I legitimately liked every single movie we watched. But these are the ones that stuck out. There was one called Grump in the Night, which is an animated film that this guy, it was 3D animation, like to the level of Pixar. And it's the level of Pixar, but he did it himself with like motion capture and everything. It's fantastic. And it's like this guy wakes up and a ghost is watching TV and he's having like a fight with a ghost. Really, really cool. Then I watched another one called, let's see, oh man, I went the wrong way. Called Impulse, which is kind of, if you've seen like the Julia Ducournau, I forget how, she's a French director. She did Raw, Titan. I know you've seen Titan, Glenn.
I have.
So I actually talked to the filmmaker Kayla Franklin after this and asked her if she was inspired by it because it was like very obvious in a good way, not like she stole shit. It's a like she stole a lot of or borrowed a lot of influence from those two films, and it's called I don't know if I said the name, but it's called Impulse. It's about this girl who kind of just goes with all of her impulses and it takes her down dark paths. But yeah, that was a really great film. Then let's see, there's one called I don't know what country this is from, maybe South Africa. Right there, it's a South African film. The entire time I was like, what language is this? Apparently it was Afrikaans. But it's this woman says she's like knocks on this door, says she's running away from bad guys. It ends up being the cops. She's an escaped convict. The guy, she finds out that the guy whose house who let her in, it doesn't actually own the house, and he just broke in just to dick around. And so then the owner comes home. The owner comes home, and then they just hide in a closet and talk. And it's really funny. Like it's a love story, but because it's so unique, I loved it. Like if you're gonna do a romance for me, make it something different. Make it like the silliest shit I've ever seen in my life, and that's what that was. So that one was called One Closet, 20 Toes, and a Gun. Really enjoyed that one. Yeah, it's a great name too. Then there was another one was called Wheel. The entire concept is just this woman's trying to record a audition tape for Wheel of Fortune, and is just obsessed with bringing up the fact that her best friend growing up was in love with her dad and everything. It's again silly shit. I love silly shit, but that was called Wheel. Directed by Honora Talbot. Great short film. Let's see, what else we got? What else do we got?
What else is there?
Here. Then there was a local short film called The Toms, and the entire concept was it is a dystopian future where everyone is named Tom except for one guy who's named Tim, and he wants to be Tom so bad, but the Toms won't let him be a Tom.
It's like a
silly shit. Great.
It's like Michael Cera, except for Michael Cera didn't care about being a Ken.
Yeah. Then there's Florence and Customer Care, which was another great, I think it was a Pennsylvania premiere. Relatively local. I think it was based in New York. I could be wrong about that. But this one is just about this woman who works at a call center who her job is making her so stressed she starts getting a rash. And it's a comedy, but, goes dark, but in a funny way. And really emotional. I loved it. Let's see. I don't want to mention too many more just because I've talked about so many now. Then there was a short called Unlucky Charms. It was a 3D animated short where this guy is eating magic munchos, which is like that world's version of Lucky Charms. And he gets hunted by a evil leprechaun. So yeah, really enjoyed that one. And then let's see, I think I'm just about done. Then there was a feature film called Willie Jamali and the Kakakoon, which was a funny local feature about a cryptid hunter. Just a nice feature film that the guy reminded me of like a Jim Carrey type.
I'll tell you one thing: people have the most creative names on there.
Yeah, they really do. A lot of great names. Met a lot of great people. If I met you and you're listening to this, thank you for listening to this. And great work, everyone. But then I watched Sisters, which we're going to get into right now.
Sisters. They were once one in body and perhaps one in mind. Danielle and Dominique. One loving, one hating, one innocent, the other... Where does Danielle end and Dominique begin?
Remember,
what the devil hath joined together, let no man cut asunder.
A small-time reporter tries to convince the police she saw a murder in the apartment across from hers. Wow! So hard to pronounce all those words I just said. Speaking of pronunciation, directed by Brian De Palma, also written by Brian De Palma, Louisa. That feels like a fake name. That's a fake name.
Louisa?
Rose.
You've never heard Louisa?
Never, not once.
It's a very real name.
Stars Margot Kidder, Jennifer Salt, Charles Darning, William Finley, Lyle Wilson, Bernard Hughes, Mary Davenport, Dolph Sweet. I almost said Sweat. I'm sorry that I almost gave you precipitation in your name. And mostly a lot of other ones are just pretty small characters, or at least uncredited as far as it goes. So yeah, I picked this one. It was just a very random one while I was looking, and I had told you this just very recently. I have always had a problem. We know this, but this specific problem is that I've always mixed up Karen Allen and Margot Kidder. Mm-hmm. I love them both very much, but I've had a very deep problem with mixing them up. So that fucked with me a little bit, especially when I looked up photos of them both, and basically the only difference is freckles and cheekbones, really.
Yeah.
The depth of the cheekbones.
Maybe a little bit the chin, too.
A little bit the chin. One has a very pronounced butt chin. But other than that, they could fall for twins as well. Maybe not Siamese, because they're not really connected like that. But... Conjoined, I'm sorry. I apologize. But yeah, again, this was a very random pick. I was just kind of looking. I was trying to look for something different because I didn't want to just pick like a stereotypical like slasher or anything like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to search the depths, and then I found that on Criterion Channel. Literally never heard of this movie before in any sort of way or anything like that.
Neither had I. I think it's a little bit weird that the IMDb synopsis doesn't mention conjoined twins at all, because that's kind of a big part of it.
Like the
or
poster,
at the very least, twins.
Yeah, the poster, it says Siamese twins at birth, but I mean, to be fair, I wasn't reading the poster as far as, like, it seemed like her sister had murdered. I didn't know Siamese was a part of it until, like, I actually looked into it further. But I love the tagline for the poster because it says, "What the devil hath joined together, let no man cut asunder."
I hate it.
It's terrible, but I fucking love it.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so unnecessarily dramatic and like trying to be like Shakespearean. And who the fuck uses the word asunder unless they're trying to sound smart?
I don't even know what it means.
Well, I don't either.
I know the sister word for it, which is fromunda. But I've never heard of a
divide. So it means to divide or So right off the bat, just kind of I don't know. I really liked this film until the last 30 minutes, and then it just went in a direction that I wasn't interested in at all. And that's, I mean, they tried something different, so I can give them that. But, like, the mystery that they created in the beginning was way more interesting than the whole, the spirit of my sister controls my brain thing that happens in it. It just, I liked it for the most part. I think it's a solid film. But I was just so... When it got to, like, the weird dreamy state where she was dreaming that she was Dominique, I was just like, what are we doing here? Like, this is so uninteresting to me. Granted, this is not made for me, but I just kind of wish it stuck to Joseph Larch, the Charles Durning character, and followed him and, tried to find out more about what happened. But it just created this world that was interesting, and then was just like, let's follow this thing that's not that interesting because it's all fake science. And yeah, that's why I didn't like it. But
I thought the sequence of that was cool.
It was well made, I'll give it that, but it was just like I didn't care about what it added to the story.
Yeah, a lot of it really doesn't make sense. So let's start from the beginning, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, spoilers were handed to you, so don't bitch to me when I say these things.
How dare
Basically, in the beginning, Margot Kidder's she's popping some pills to try to maintain her psyche so it doesn't go buck wild and go killing people and be violent like her twin used to be. But sadly, she does because she loses 2 of the pills, which she needed 4. But
except when she puts the pill
2.
bottle down, you can hear there's more pills in it.
There's a little goof.
That's one thing that drove me crazy. Like the pills went down the sink. I'm like, you have more.
Yeah.
You either that or you have like stones in that pill bottle.
Well, it showed that she had 4. She took 2.
Yeah.
Put the 2 on the thing, but I guess they just goofed and left 2 more in there.
Yeah, and maybe I misheard. I didn't rewind to confirm. So it is possible that I misheard, but I in my memory remember hearing more pills in there. I could be wrong. So if I am, please comment down below if I am wrong.
I'm confused by the fact that the medication that she needed to take 4 pills right away, but she only took 2. So I'm confused by that logic.
Yeah, that's
only having
silly
to take
as well.
2 and then 15 minutes later, then take 2 more.
Yeah.
Like they're all just popping pills, girl. Pop them.
Pop them.
Disclaimer: do not pop them pills. Okay, don't
Pop the
them pills.
correct dosage of said pills.
But anyway, those pills help her control the psyche of Dominique. The violent part of what used to be her being is now just kind of like in her brain, in her hard wiring. And she ends up killing a man. And when she does that...
Justice for Phillip, though. Can I get a justice for Phillip?
He deserved better.
He did.
Even though his acting wasn't that good.
I mean, that's just the actor, but
that's
the character.
The character, man, he was a nice guy. He went and got a cake for the twins that he didn't even see.
He averted his eyes when she was unchanging.
He did that. Most men wouldn't, but Phillip, he did.
Yeah.
But anyway, he gets murdered.
Stabbed in the dick.
Just right up in there. Right in the head and then in the actual head, too. It was poor guy. But anyway, in his perilous journey of death, he tries to write help on the window and tries to go out tattletaling. How dare he? And of course, there's one person who sees the tattletale, and it's the reporter across the street.
It's not Jimmy Stewart, that's for sure.
Definitely not him. Also, she's got wicked vision, and the fact that she saw that at the perfect time is insane. Good job. Yep. She's got great reporting skills for a 25-year-old.
Also a sick mullet.
It's a really sick mullet. Holy shit. But yeah, the thing in this sequence that I'm kind of talking about right now is this is where it kind of... How does the time work? Because she saw the twin, which from her point of view, she could definitely not see the twin, I'm pretty sure. Or at least the whole brutal murdering happening, because we got to see her point of view from her apartment through that window. And I don't think... You probably did, but...
You could see like the edge of the couch that he
fell
behind.
Technically, I guess you could see it from there, but I don't know. I wasn't in the apartment. But the time, as far as it works, is I'm guessing Dominique stabbed Phillip and then got changed, laid back on the floor, switched clothes or whatever, and then became Danielle again, but passed out. Mm-hmm. And all of that happened in such an amount of time. I don't remember how it happened, but the timeline, and they even show it. They do some like. What was it? The 2005 or whatever Hulk, like
the split screen, yeah.
Yeah, they do split screening, not the comic book style because that would have been crazy. They do split screening to show like the time and as far as that works, which I thought was cool. But
it was cool when they were
it was,
when Emil Breton was like trying to help clean up and everything.
Yeah, but I think it overly did it in that parts because we didn't need to see Margot Kidder just putting on makeup for like 30 minutes. Not 30 minutes, but you know what I'm getting at. It felt
I'd agree
longer.
with that.
But like we know what was happening. She had to put on makeup and they had to clean up. We didn't need to see a split screen of it actually happening. Although the sequence was cool, especially with
It was cool when the cops were coming up and Emil Breton like barely
that
got
part
past them. That was cool.
That was cool. But like that timeline part, that how does that sync up? How did Dominique do all that in such a short amount of time of Grace seeing all that? She's so quick. How dare you, Dominique? You're so fast.
She doesn't exist. That's how.
That's what I mean. How did Danielle do all that fast? But yeah, I thought that whole sequence was really cool. Like you said, that was kind of the part, or like the beginning parts were kind of the ones that were really kind of setting it up for like, oh, we're getting into some cool shit. And then the sequence at the end, I enjoyed the sequence of it, but it was kind of a big turn compared to what it was. Yeah, it was kind of a big turn compared to what it was setting up in a way.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild.
Yeah, definitely. I'm 100% with you. It's just I know like this is supposed to be a horror movie, but it felt like such an interesting thriller until it decided to just be a horror movie at the last second.
Yeah.
I like horror movies, especially psychological horror movies, which it turned into, but I like thrillers a lot more. I think that they kind of just shot themselves in the foot. It was such an interesting story to me. I don't know. I don't know how
it showed what I liked about the two sides, or at least the twin parts, is that it showed a little bit more range for Margot. Because one, Dominique didn't talk like at all, but she kind of had like a twisted face, but like her jaw was kind of like to the side and everything. She's like, so it showed like as far as her physical, like what she could do with her face, and then act violent. It showed what she could do there a little bit more, which was cool. But it's the fact that we only saw just a little bit of the violence, and then it went right back to Danielle. And then, of course, we know that Dominique never really existed after a certain point because she died during the surgery to separate them. Or did she get? They kill her, or did she die during the surgery?
Well, she died during the surgery. That provides a good question.
Yeah.
Because one that's not answered, but she died during the surgery. And I want to preface this by saying I am not a doctor. I'm not.
What?
I am a twin, not a conjoined twin. I did look it up. Apparently, it's technically possible for opposite gender or sex twins to be conjoined. It's never happened.
Yeah.
And it's very unlikely, but theoretically it is possible.
All right.
So I was wrong with that. But again, the likelihood of malignant happening, very, very unlikely. But like just looking at where they're conjoined in this is like right around the hip.
Yeah.
Unless they share a kidney or something, or like a vein, like an artery. There's no reason that they would have, any of them would have been dead, and they probably would have, I don't know, tried. I'm not a doctor, but it doesn't look like a very serious connection because of where it is. It's like on the
it's right to the hips.
Yeah, right to the hips.
Attached by the hips.
The only thing I could think of is maybe they shared a kidney, or their kidneys were connected or something, and that's what made it difficult. But yeah, it's so it's just, I don't know. The whole concept of it is very like really that's
Yeah, but I guess the target audience doesn't really make you care.
Yeah, it's just being a twin. Twin things annoy me a lot because, everyone growing up, everyone always asked. First of all, people who knew us would ask if Laura and I were identical. My twin sister and I were identical. If you've seen us, I'm a foot taller than her, and like 200 pounds more than her.
Yeah.
So even if we were the same sex and had the same chromosomes.
There's some facial features where it's similar, but
but that's
you're
the same as like
related.
any brother or sister.
Yeah.
See, the way you get identical twins is there's one egg and it splits after it's been conceived. So that's how you get identical twins. Fraternal twins, which is what me and my sister are, and what I believe the majority of twins are two eggs being conceived at the same time. And so, it's just completely different. The science behind it is completely different. It's not even just a looks thing.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very improbable that you would have different sex of identical twins, because like some weird chromosome shit would have to happen after conception, which from what I read while you were talking is not impossible, but it's very improbable. So
that
it's just
is a science lesson from Mike.
Yes, and that's about the most science I know, and it's because I grew up answering questions about being a twin. So anytime there's just twins involved, I'm very like critical of what's going on. Like that wouldn't happen. Again, and as far as like them being conjoined and her dying when they were being separated, to me it seems unlikely, but I'm not going to outright say that it couldn't happen because I'm not a doctor. But just looking at where they're conjoined, I'm like, that does not look like it'd be a very serious separation.
Well, also the scar on their hips, I was like, man, unless those are some shoddy ass surgeons, I feel like that's a pretty fucked up scar. And then I found out the fun way how they actually did it. I'm like, well, no, that scar makes a lot of sense now.
How did they do it? I forget.
It was a fucking cleaver.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it was a hack, literally.
Yeah.
A quack doctor who hacked away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's just. It was such a good movie, and then it turned into like silly horror trash, which is why I'm mostly disappointed. Not that I even minded the silly horror trash; it just wasn't what I was wanting from the rest of the film.
Well, yeah, it showed a lot in the beginning as a thriller that it was like taking influence from Hitchcock, especially the like knife silhouette scene, like when she's repeatedly stabbing Phillip, my poor boy, poor Phillip. So like it took a lot of like influence from that, and then like it kept becoming a better thriller. Like they hired the private investigator to go search for this couch because it's got the dead body in it, and then Grace is going to do her thing investigating shit, and then it just dives right into the psychological part, which again I like the sequence and I like where it was heading, but it went into like a psychological, like a trance type thing instead of like in
such like I'm sorry to interrupt, but in like such a like a annoying like lazy way where it's just like, oh, she's one of the patients and she keeps saying like, go check my car, but they're not listening, and maybe like I'm sure that has happened before, especially for like a woman, but it was just lazy writing.
Yeah,
because especially when she like there was one point where she just went with them willingly. Before she started like arguing again, but it's just like, what are you doing here?
She's trying to get the scoop on the story, man.
Well, I know that, but like, the second it seems like you're going to be going into a mental institution, you got to be like, yo, listen.
Yeah. Where I would have changed it is like them, or at least Emil, kind of interrogating her because she's obviously catching on. Instead of doing the full trance and doing this whole thing. Actually, you know what? I did like the trance stuff. I'll be dead honest about that. I liked the trance stuff. I liked that he tried to like manipulate her and stuff. What I didn't like was Danielle and Dominique becoming kind of one, and then Danielle just has a violent side whenever because
they
she
didn't
was
explain
trans.
why they didn't explain why she has a violent side.
It was basically anytime I guess she got some sort of affection. Like
well, no, they didn't say why Dominique had a violent side.
Oh yeah,
like,
well, I guess because she got the fucked up part of the. I don't.
Yeah, maybe.
Again, target audience shit. I don't know.
Again, that's not how twins work. You don't get two different sides of of personalities.
Yeah. I guess how they were trying to explain it. I'm sorry if I wasn't paying too much attention. Is one was basically deficient in brains. So, like me,
Yeah.
But I'm not that violent.
Yeah. Again, I'm not a doctor, but it feels like if they're conjoined, they would have very similar brains.
Yeah.
Not that they would have like exactly the same personalities or whatever, but I feel like I don't know. It just seems like a convenient plot point in order for it to happen.
That's the thing.
Like I would have believed it more if like they were both a little crazy, but then because she lived, Danielle got medication for it. That'd be more believable than she was always sweet, and now she's part of Dominique's personality.
And also, when the medication wears off, she kind of goes more violent because of the loss of her sister, and that on top of already being slightly violent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a silly thing. It was a silly thing.
But what I really liked was immediately kind of right after they find her again, or find Grace, and she gets back to society as a whole. What I really liked is obviously they transed her, so she's like, so they're investigating. They're like, hey, what's going on with that murder? Did you figure out what's going on? Because we're trying to believe you now. As far as like this dude was murdered, she's like, there was no murder. There was no murder. That's not how she talked back then, but
yeah,
I was tranced out of it. And then I like right after that is us going to what was his name? The private investigator,
Larch.
Yeah, Larch.
Joseph Larch.
I really liked that they ended the movie with him basically on a telephone pole, kind of, and he found the couch, but that's where it ends, and it doesn't go anywhere. I like the kind of how he followed through with it and was able to track it down and all that.
See, I hated that.
Well, I liked that his story continued.
Yeah, no, I get that, but like, it just, I don't know. It seemed
we were cucked from it actually being solved, and poor Phillip gets no justice. Yeah, even though technically he kind of does, because Larch found the couch, but still, it doesn't feel completely justified.
Yeah, it just seems like it's trying to set up a sequel, which I don't know if a sequel was ever made.
I don't think so.
But like, I hate it when things.
What would they call it? Sisters.
Yeah, it's one thing to end a film ambiguously. It's another thing to end it in a way that a sequel could potentially happen, and just be like, oh, it's ambiguous. It's like, no, you're trying to set up a sequel, and I feel like that's what this was trying to do. I could be wrong. I don't know Brian De Palma's intentions with that, but it felt very like, oh, look at that. And also, he was not very far away from the couch using binoculars. Like, the person he was waiting for would have seen him with the binoculars. Like, why does he need binoculars? He's not that far away from the couch. I
never realized Brian De Palma's film history. It's kind of crazy. He's got a really good career.
I mean, like, I like this film, technically speaking. It's just, there's a lot of weird choices. Like, binoculars when you're 50 feet away from what you're looking at. Like, what are we doing, Brian? What are we doing? It's silly. 'Tis a silly thing.
'Tis a silly goose moment.
And then also the whole hypnosis thing. It's just like, it's just a reminder of what could have been, and it could have been such a better movie if it just stuck with the thriller aspect and not the crazy, killer twin who lost her twin.
If it didn't get psychological, it would have been very, very good.
Yeah, it was very frustrating for me. And again, I know it sounds like I'm shitting on this movie. I gave it a 3 out of 5. But like it could have been leading up to the last half hour. Like I was like, oh, this is a 5 out of 5. This is one of the best movies I've ever seen. And then it just shat the bed. You know, Danny DeVito and Charlie Kelly were just like arguing over who shat in the bed. That's how much shit there was. That's an It's Always Sunny reference for those who don't know.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating because there's great performances, there's great cinematography, there's great sequences, but it feels like two completely different movies, and usually that's a cool thing, but in this, it's a very frustrating thing for me personally. I just wish it stuck with the thriller aspect. Because it could have been a great film, and now I kind of understand why I haven't heard of this before. Even though, I mean, it has a 6.9 out of 10, but like, I don't know. It's just, it could have been a great film, and it's just like it's a good film, and that's what's frustrating.
Yeah, overall,
I might sound like I'm complaining too much, but it's like. You had to be in my headspace while I was watching this, because like at one point I legitimately went, no, what are you doing?
Well, the thing is, it's always easier to talk about the bad than it is the good. But there is a lot of good things about this, but at the same time, sometimes the bad outweighs the good.
Like it was very suspenseful for a lot of it until I stopped caring. But you know, just to focus on it, the sequence when Joseph Larch is looking for evidence. It was very suspenseful. Like when they came in to get the couch, and you're just like, "What's going to happen?" I thought that rivaled Hitchcock at that point. Like it was very, very suspenseful, and you know it continued that for a good portion. The even like the murder sequence. I didn't mind that, even though it leans more of the horror aspect. I thought that was shot very well. And it's just, I don't know. It's got a lot of great things to talk about. I was so frustrated with the ending.
I don't know. If not, oh well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have too much more to talk about. I thought it was really good. I don't think it was like crazy good because of the way they went, but I think overall, it did well.
Yeah, and, I would agree with that.
And I gotta stop mixing up Karen Allen and Margot
Kidder. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's great. I think I'm just like a big fan of thrillers and mysteries. Other than that, though, it is a great film. Like abandoning that, I commend them for trying something different because it is a very different film because of that. I just don't think it worked as well. In my mind, I'm sure there's people out there that love this, but
I lied. There's 2 things I got to talk about.
Oh, 2 things.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
First off, the cake lady, and just how funny she weirdly was.
Oh yeah.
Phillip goes in to make a cake, and he's like, "Hey, lady, can I get a cake?" And she gives him the cake, and then he's like, "Hey, do you mind writing like happy birthday, like Dominique and Danielle?" She's like, "You think I can do that?"
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just so funny to me. He's like, "Well, you're a cake lady. I just assumed it's part of the job." She's like, "Hey, Margarine, get a load of this guy." And then they just start shitting on the guy for thinking that he knew that, he thought that they knew how to do their jobs. I just thought that whole sequence was dumb fun.
Yeah, it was very silly. And then when Grace went back to talk to them, that was a great scene too.
And then what was the other one? Fuck. Oh, when Emil slips and falls and busts his head open, that fall to me is so fucking funny.
Was that towards the end or?
It's in the beginning when he's disposing of the body. He slips and falls on the floor, but he goes head first. Right. And I was laughing because I didn't think that was going to mean anything later. But I mean, technically, it still doesn't. But I was just watching the movie, and
you thought it was a blooper that they kept in.
I was like, this dude just fell on his fucking face. What is he doing? And then obviously he had a big ass bruise. But I thought it was so fucking funny when he cracked his skull open. That And then he comes in with this big ass bruise on his forehead later.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those are the only two other things that I really got to talk about. I thought those were funny moments.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. So,
Yes.
yeah. So that does it for our review for Sisters. That brings us to the judgment. As always, it needs to be unanimous decision whether or not it goes to the KFR show for the likes of Apostle and Handmaid and Glen.
Yeah.
This was your pick. So does it go on?
I'm kind of torn. Mainly because the thriller parts were really good, and honestly, when it comes down to like, hey, you want to watch a weird, excuse me, like a weird or scary or like just the thriller for Halloween instead of the usual Nightmares Before Christmases or any of the other traditional ones that I'm so tired of seeing all the time. Mm-hmm. I feel like this would be a good choice to kind of throw into that pot. Even though the psychological part, it doesn't kill the movie exactly, but it does down it a little bit. I still think this is a good contender on throwing it into that mix if you're not wanting to watch your traditional Halloween type movies or Hocus Pocus or any of that fucking shit. Yeah, I don't know. I already know your answer, so it's kind of riding on me. So
do you?
And then even then, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I would say yeah, honestly.
Yeah?
I would say I like that it's another contender to throw into the mix. I would say yes.
Okay. Well, you have made me be the party pooper.
It's okay.
It's just so frustrating for me.
Yeah.
And like when it does turn into a horror movie, it's kind of bad in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Like it becomes it goes from being intelligent to schlocky and dark. Not dark, schlocky and stupid. I don't know why I said dark. It was dark pretty much the entire time. So yeah, I just wasn't a fan of where it went about after like 50 minutes to 100 minutes, 50 minutes to an hour. So yeah, I would say no, it doesn't go on the shelf.
And that's okay.
Yes.
It's all right.
Sorry to be the party pooper, but we're now only 1 for 1. As Sisters does not go on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden, that brings us to Streaming Roulette, our first Streaming Roulette of the 2023 Spooktacular Spooktober. For those of you who don't know, we spin a very real wheel the size of Providence, Rhode Island. And we spin it 3 times. It's normally the size of Rhode Island, but when you only make it horror movies, it's only Providence, Rhode Island.
It becomes a little bit smaller, yeah.
Yes. So we spin it 3 times, and it has all the movies that are on the streaming services that we subscribe to, and then we decide which of those 3 we want to watch. So without any further ado, here comes spin number 1. Pulse from 2001. Ooh, it looks like it may be Japanese. And it is going to be on...
do you have
Amazon.
AMC Plus?
Oh, I don't.
Neither do I.
Hold on a second. Let me go.
Oh, no, this is one that I've actually wanted to see, too. Fuck.
It's on Prime.
Yeah, but it's most likely like a go on Prime and then go to AMC Plus type thing.
Let's see. Oh, no. I can watch it.
Can you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll stop being a dickhead.
Yeah. So good. So Pulse is going to be on Amazon Prime. 2 groups of people discover evidence that suggests spirits may be trying to invade the human world through the internet. Directed, and I apologize ahead of time for mispronouncing this, written and directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, starring Haruhiko Kato, Kumiko Aso, Koyuki, that's one person, Koyuki, Kuruma Arasaka, and others, and that is on Amazon Prime. 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb, 70 Metacritic score. This one was, I was looking for horror movies. This one did come up, but I didn't put it on my list. But yeah.
There it is.
So that's Pulse, an hour, 59 minutes on Amazon. So that is our first choice. Here comes spin number 2. The Devil's Candy from 2016. Ooh, yeah.
It's on
IMDb, it says 2015, so you get the 2015, 2016. I have seen posters for this. This is available on Tubi, AMC Plus if you have it, Shudder if you have it, but it is on Tubi for free with ads. So a struggling painter's possessed. Is that supposed to be painter's possessive?
I think it's a tongue twister.
No, it's an apostrophe S. I'm trying to see if it's possessive or if it's supposed to be painter is. I think it's supposed to be painter.
Struggling painter's possessed.
A struggling painter is possessed by dark forces after he and his young family move into their dream home in rural Texas in a creepy haunted house tale. Whoever wrote that, that's not the right place to put an apostrophe. Like, yes, technically, grammatically, it's correct, but it's a little confusing. Written and directed by Sean Byrne, starring Ethan Embry, Sherry Appleby, Pruitt Taylor Vince, Kira Glasgow, Tom Amendola, Leland Orser. Ooh, Leland Orser liked one of my tweets one time. Sorry, it's just every time I see him, I get excited. So that is going to be on Tubi, AMC Plus, or Shudder. 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb. 72 Metacritic score. So yeah. That is The Devil's Candy. Here comes spin number 3. Have we done this one? Reanimator? Have we done it? I know we've both seen it.
I have watched it because Tony recommended it to me.
Yeah, he recommended it to me as well.
Oh wait, I think I did do a video on it.
I think you're right. Yeah. Do you want to
I'm not upset that it's on.
Should I reanimate the wheel?
Reanimate
the wheel. Okay. Here comes spin number 3. Definitely the first time we spun it too. Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Jesus.
I've only seen remakes and the first one.
The final chapter, in 1984.
Yeah, of course it's not the final chapter. So this one is going to be on HBO Max and Hulu and also Amazon Prime, so lots of places to watch it. After being announced dead and taken to the morgue, Jason Voorhees spontaneously revives, shocker, escapes from the hospital and stalks a group of friends renting a house in the countryside near Crystal Lake. Directed by Joseph Zito, written by Victor Miller, Ron Kurtz, and Martin Kitrosser, starring Eric Anderson, Judy Aronson, Peter Barton, Kimberly Beck, Tom Everett, Corey Feldman. Oh, Corey Feldman. Joan Freeman, Lisa Freeman, Crispin Glover.
Whoa.
Wayne Grace. Others. Mm-hmm. So that is on HBO Max, Hulu, Amazon. 6.0 out of 10 on IMDb. 33 Metacritic score. And that is Friday the 13th, the final chapter. So we have Friday the 13th, the final chapter, The Devil's Candy, or Pulse. Honestly, I'd be okay with any of these. They all look interesting enough to me, even though I know that Friday the 13th, the final chapter, is probably going to be bad. It looks like a fun bad.
I'm also all over the place on this one. I think because I was looking into watching Pulse before that I was most interested in that, but also the fact that I haven't really watched too many Friday the 13th movies. I'm kind of leaning that one and then watching all of the other ones to get to the final chapter. What number is this in
That's
in
a good
series?
question, because I'm going to make myself do the same thing if that is...
Because now I'm curious. So I'm assuming this is what, the fifth?
It's probably... Okay, well, the first one came out in 1980, so it can't be that.
Oh,
it's
Jesus.
the fourth one, so we only have to watch 3 others. For me too, because I've already seen the first one.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to do that, to be honest with you.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of people that we talk to always say we don't do popular enough movies, so maybe we should just bite the bullet and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing we do have to do is make sure all those other ones are on a streaming platform.
Give me 1 second. I will check. On HBO. They're all on HBO.
So I think I'm leaning to do that. That's a lot of homework for me, but I'm willing to put it in.
Yeah.
And also
It'll be a jump start. It'll be a jump start into my series where I start ranking things I don't care about.
Yeah.
Because I have been thinking about doing that. So Friday the 13th, final chapter?
I think so.
Three times before, you have felt the terror, known the madness, lived the horror. But this is the one you've been screaming for. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Jason is back. He moves like a shadow, dark and silent.
Sorry you changed your mind?
He never utters a word. He doesn't even seem to breathe.
Where the hell's the corkscrew?
He simply, mindlessly, mercilessly kills. But now, Jason's reign of terror is over. Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Okay, so Friday the 13th, the final chapter, is our assignment for next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we're Keystone_film_review. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I'm Mike, KFR.
And I'm Glen, KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we get a...
See, I always thought it was...
Everyone does, but it's kill ma, or it's like mother kill or something like that. I don't remember the exact thing, but that's it's supposed to be.
You're so right.
Was that sarcasm?
No, you should have seen my face. I was actually brain blasted like a Jimmy Neutron.
I heard that. I don't know how true it is. We'll talk about it next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.